So you've made some salsa macha, and now I'm going to show you something that's really cool to do with it. It's one of my favorite things. It is a scallop tostada in the style of Baja California. Okay, let's talk about scallops. And they could be served raw for this tostada that we're going to make, like they do at my very favorite street stall in, I'd say, all of Mexico, La Guerrerense in Ensenada. But they have these incredible scallops that they can get from Ensenada Bay and further south there. And they cut them up and then lay them onto the tostada without cooking them. And that's probably the best thing that you could possibly do. But most of you may not be comfortable with that or don't have a supply of such fresh scallops. So I suggest you do a really quick poach on them. So I just brought some water to a boil, salted it heavily. If you don't have scallops, if you're working with big ones, then you want to cut them into pieces that are roughly about a half inch. You do know this, I saved this one scallop to show you. These are the big sea scallops, but you do know, I think, that if you find this foot on the side of a sea scallop or even on a bay scallop, sometimes you'll see them, you want to pull that off. That's a tough muscle that helps to hold this into the concha. Okay, so you would cut that all up, and these just were in there for like a minute or so, just to barely cook them, because I want them to be really delicious and fresh. And the whole idea of this tostada is that it's going to be a spectacular mouthful for you, and part of that will come from the light cooking of those scallops. Okay, next thing here. Let's mash up some avocado. Sometimes I do this same tostada with a smear of cream cheese or goat cheese on it, but I really do like it with the avocado in it. So of course you'll get the pits out of the avocado. I'm going to scoop the flesh here into a bowl, and because these are Hass avocados, of course, you can go right up to the skin. And then I'm going to mash those guys with just a very light seasoning. It's just going to be a tiny little bit of lime juice. And I'm going to do that with the Mexican lime squeezer here. Turn the half upside down like that if you haven't used this, and then just give a little squeeze in there. Of course, I'm going to need some salt to go into this mixture to season the avocado. And then you could use the back of a spoon, but the most efficient way, of course, to mash an avocado is to use a potato masher, that old-fashioned kind of potato masher. And then you're gonna make a kind of coarse puree out of that. Okay. So we're ready now to make the tostadas. You can fry your own tostadas, but if you do that, always look for tortillas that were made for frying, not table tortillas. Table tortillas have more moisture in them, finer ground masa, and they're to be enjoyed at the table. When you fry them, they can turn out a little greasy and a little heavy, okay? But you can also go to your Mexican grocery store and buy really good tostadas, which is what I am working with today. These things, I can't even fry them at home. I can fry them at work this good, but I can't fry them at home this good. So I'm going to lay a couple of them down here after I get them spread with some of this mashed and seasoned avocado. So this is not what we would call guacamole in the United States, but in Mexico they would call it guacamole. Seasoned mashed avocado. And then we'll put some of our scallops over the top of that. I'm going to move this thing closer to me here so that I can pile this up the way that I want it to be. So you'll put a few of your pieces of scallop over the top of it, make a nice little mound there. And when you get these at La Guerrerense, at that cart that I was telling you about in Ensenada, you get all different kinds of seafood, shellfish primarily, that you could pile on this. And now we're going to use the salsa macha that we have made. and just drizzle that over. This stuff is so deep in flavor. You just think about it with the little peanuts and sesame and garlic and the dried chilies that have been toasted up in this. A little tiny hint of acid from that dark vinegar that we put in there. Man, these are these are super, super delicious. Now, I like to put a little leaf of cilantro on it, so I'll pull a few of them off the top of this and just tear them up. You'll see the oil separating around a little bit here, which is one of the things that I like about this kind of salsa. Now at La Guerrerense they have Salsa Macha type salsas made in many different flavors with different kinds of nuts and seeds and chilies and so forth and so on. Boy, you serve those to your friends. You could even use some poached shrimp in that or some poached fish if you wanted to. You could make it an all roasted vegetable tostada like that with the salsa macha over the top. But always have some limes to squeeze on the side, because these are bold flavors. They're fresh flavors. Anything you can do to just perk it up is going to make them absolutely spectacular. Make my favorite tostadas of scallops with salsa macha and a little creamy avocado.